Welcome back to the System Read. I'm Marcus, and today we are dissecting what I consider the ultimate manual for human optimization. Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit. Sarah, I've been spinning like a top since finishing this. It's like Duhigg has handed us the source code for our own behavior.
Source code, Marcus? Or a set of handcuffs? I'm Sarah, and while I agree the research is massive, I'm here to look at the dark side of these loops. It's one thing to talk about productivity. It's another to talk about how corporations are essentially pickpocketing our autonomy.
Autonomy is a nice sentiment, but the data is cold, Sarah. Duke University researchers found that over 40% of the actions we perform every day aren't actually decisions, but habits. We aren't choosing our lives. We're running on scripts stored in the basal ganglia. It's the firmware upgrade we never knew we needed.
Oh, how wonderful! A firmware upgrade that happens while we're asleep. Think about that. Nearly half of our life is lived by a lump of tissue that evolved millions of years ago to save effort. If the brain is looking to power down at every opportunity, isn't that just a massive vulnerability for anyone who wants to sell us something?
It's a survival mechanism. It's what allowed us to stop thinking about basic behaviors like walking or choosing what to eat so we could invent irrigation and airplanes. Look at the anatomy. The habit loop. You have a cue, a routine, and a reward. It's an elegant three-step cycle that turns complex sequences into behavioral chunks. Like backing your car out of a driveway, an intricate ballet performed unthinkingly because the basal ganglia takes over.
And that ballet is exactly why we're in trouble, Marcus. Because once that loop is locked in, the brain stops fully participating in decision-making. We become like those rats in the MIT maze, scurrying toward the chocolate while our higher brain functions literally go to sleep. You call it efficiency. I call it a tragedy of the conscious mind.
But Sarah, that's where the craving machine comes in. If you understand the craving, you own the loop. Look at Claude Hopkins and Pepsodent.
Here we go. The man who invented the American smile.
He didn't just invent a smile, he created a national obsession. Before Hopkins, only 7% of Americans even owned a tube of toothpaste. He found a universal cue: tooth film. He told people to run their tongues across their teeth and feel that dingy membrane. Then he promised a reward: beauty. Within a decade, toothbrushing became a daily ritual for over half the population. That's systems engineering at its finest.
It's predatory marketing, Marcus. Let's be honest about what the sources say. Hopkins was ignoring the fact that tooth film has always existed and is harmless. You can get rid of it by eating an apple. But the real kicker, the part Duhigg reveals later, is that Pepsodent didn't even work because of the film removal. It worked because Hopkins accidentally sold a craving for a tingling sensation.
Exactly. The citric acid and mint oil created that cool, tingling feeling.
Right. A tingling sensation that has zero cleaning benefit. It's an irritant. But because people started craving that tingle, they equated it with cleanliness. He didn't sell dental health. He sold a neurological itch that only his product could scratch. How can you call that an upgrade when it's clearly just a manipulation of our primitive reward systems?
Because knowledge is power, Sarah. Once we understand that cravings drive habits, we can use the golden rule of habit change. Duhigg is clear. You can't kill a habit. You can only replace it. You keep the same cue, provide the same reward, but you insert a new routine. It's what Tony Dungy used to turn the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from America's orange doormat into a powerhouse. He didn't teach new skills, he just made his players' reactions to keys automatic, so they could move faster than anyone else.
I appreciate Dungy, I really do. But look at the cost. Even the sources admit that when the pressure got too high, when it was a playoff game, The training disappeared because the players didn't yet believe in the system. You're talking about reprogramming humans like their code, but you're ignoring the human part. Habit replacement is grueling. It's not just swapping a routine. It's a constant battle against a brain that never truly deletes a bad habit. It just hides it in the background, waiting for a moment of stress to reemerge.
Which is why Keystone Habits are so revolutionary. You don't have to fix everything at once. You just find the one habit that starts a chain reaction. Paul O'Neill at Alcoa is the gold standard here. He didn't talk about profits or stock price. He walked into that Manhattan ballroom and talked about worker safety.
I love the reaction of the investors. They thought the board had put a crazy hippie in charge who was going to kill the company.
But look at the result. By focusing on safety, a goal everyone could agree on, O'Neill forced a massive realignment. To get to zero injuries, Alcoa had to build the most streamlined, efficient communication systems in the world. The safety loop spilled over into everything. Costs came down, quality went up, and profits hit a record high. That's the power of a system. You change the keystone, and the whole organization transforms.
It's a success story, yes, but it's also a story about centralizing power. O'Neill used safety as a lever to change how people communicated. It's essentially using a crisis, or the threat of one, to force malleability into an organization. My concern is when that lever is used by people with less integrity than O'Neill. Let's talk about the real elephant in the room. Target.
The guest ID numbers.
It's horrifying, Marcus. Andrew Pohl and his team of statisticians weren't just identifying bachelors. They were building a pregnancy prediction algorithm to peer inside a woman's womb before her own family knew. They identified 25 different products that, when bought together, could estimate a due date with terrifying accuracy.
But from a business perspective, it's brilliant. New parents are the holy grail of retail. Their habits are more flexible at that moment than at any other point in their lives. If Target can get them in for diapers, they'll stay for everything else.
At what cost to privacy? They were sending coupons for baby clothes to a high school girl. Her father walked into a store demanding to know if they were encouraging his daughter to get pregnant, only to find out she actually was. And what was Target's solution to this PR disaster? Did they stop spying? No. They just got better at camouflaging it. They started sandwiching the baby ads between random things like lawnmowers and wine glasses, so the shopper would think the coupons were random. As long as we don't spook her, it works. That is the most cynical thing I've ever read.
Sarah, it's just the familiarity loop. It's the same thing radio DJs did with the song, Hey Ya! People hated it at first because it was too different. It didn't sound like anything else on the radio. So DJs sandwiched it between established hits by Maroon 5 or Christina Aguilera. They dressed something new in old clothes until the public's listening habits shifted to crave it. It's not spying, it's just making the novel seem familiar.
It's manipulation, Marcus. You're talking about cracking the code of human behavior to ensure we never stop consuming. Where does willpower fit into your perfect system? Is it just another variable in the equation?
Actually, willpower is the most important keystone habit of all. And the research is fascinating. It's not a skill you have or don't have. It's a muscle.
The radish versus cookie experiment. My favorite.
It's a classic for a reason. Mark Maraven at Case Western found that students who had to exhaust their willpower by eating radishes and ignoring delicious chocolate chip cookies gave up on an impossible puzzle 60% faster than those who got to eat the cookies. Willpower is a finite resource. It gets tired just like the muscles in your arms.
And that's exactly my point. If willpower is a finite resource that gets exhausted by tedious tasks like writing emails or filling out boring expense forms, then our modern systems are designed to leave us completely defenseless. We use up our willpower muscle at work, and by the time we get home, we have zero strength left to resist the habit loops that Target and Pepsodent have carefully laid out for us. We aren't optimizing. We're being drained of our capacity for choice.
But Sarah, you're missing the workout aspect. Oaten and Cheng found that when people forced themselves into a physical exercise program, using willpower to hit the gym, their self-discipline spilled over into every other part of their lives. They smoked fewer cigarettes, drank less alcohol, and became more productive at work. Once you strengthen the willpower muscle in one area, it touches everything. You can train your brain to be disciplined.
Or, as Moravin's later study showed, you can simply give people a sense of control. When students were treated kindly and given a choice, their willpower didn't tire out as fast, even after ignoring the cookies. The problem isn't that our muscles are weak. It's that we are treated like cogs in someone else's machine. When people have genuine decision-making authority, their focus and energy skyrocket.
Exactly. That's why Starbucks gives its baristas a sense of agency over how they greet customers or where the blender is located. It's about building a system where willpower becomes automatic. Travis Leach, a high school dropout whose parents were heroin addicts, became a manager of 2 stores because Starbucks taught him the latte method, a routine for dealing with inflection points, like screaming customers. They gave him a shield.
It's a beautiful story, but I still wonder, is Travis mastering his emotions, or is he just learning to submerge them for $44,000 a year? Duhigg's book is called The Power of Habit, but the real power is held by those who design the habits for others.
I disagree. The real power is in the responsibility of the individual. Duhigg's final conclusion is that once you are aware a habit exists, you have the freedom and the burden to remake it. As William James said, "My first act of free will shall be to believe in free will."
A lovely sentiment, Marcus. But I think I'll keep an eye on my basal ganglia and my Target coupons. The water we swim in is made of habits, and I'd prefer not to drown in them.
And that's the point. Now you know how to redirect the path. You have the power to swim. Until next time on the System Read, keep looking for your own loops.
And keep your radishes close. You're going to need the willpower.
Thank you for listening to this discussion on the System Read podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to ensure you don't miss our upcoming deep dives.